The evolution of the Hetzer, Germany's small yet formidable tank hunter. As World War II drew to a close, Germany found itself in a dire situation. Its once dominant armored divisions were now being decimated on both fronts. Faced with overwhelming numbers, superior production capabilities of the Allies, and constant pressure, Germany began focusing on specialized weapons to level the battlefield. One of the most notable outcomes of this shift was the Jagdpanzer 38T, more famously known as the Hetzer. Despite its small size, the Hetzer was lethal and ahead of its time. It wasn't solely a German invention but a product of necessity, influenced heavily by Czech engineering and the harsh realities of late war combat. The Hetzer represented the drive to achieve efficiency under intense pressure. Czech origins, from LT-VZ 38 to Panzer 38T. The Hetzer's story began not in Germany, but in Czechoslovakia. Before the war, Czechoslovakia boasted one of Europe's leading arms industries. Among its creations was the LT-VZ 38, a light tank that gained international attention for its quality. After Germany occupied Czechoslovakia in 1939, it took control of its factories and repurposed the LT-VZ 38 as the Panzer 38T for its own military. Initially, the Panzer 38T served effectively in early campaigns across Poland, France, and the Balkans. However, by 1941, it was outmatched by newer Soviet tanks like the T-34 and KV-1. Instead of discarding the design, German engineers adapted it to build various vehicles, recon units, self-propelled artillery, and ultimately the Hetzer. Why a new tank destroyer was needed. By 1943, the Eastern Front had become a disaster for Germany. Soviet forces were deploying large numbers of improved T-34s and the formidable IS-2 heavy tanks. Meanwhile, the Western Allies fielded seemingly endless waves of Shermans, Cromwells, and Churchills. Germany needed tank destroyers that were inexpensive, easy to manufacture, and could be built in large quantities. Heavier vehicles like the Jagdpanzer and Elefant were powerful but costly and produced in limited numbers. On the other hand, the Marder series, built on older chassis and lightly protected, were more vulnerable and less effective. Enter the Panzer 38T chassis. Still being produced at the BMM plant in Prague, it was a logical choice to form the base of a new, more efficient tank destroyer. Design and development of the Hetzer. In 1943, German designers began working on a new tank destroyer that would use the Panzer 38T chassis, but feature a fully enclosed, casemate-style design. The result was the Jagdpanzer 38T. It entered production in 1944, though its official name never included Hetzer. The nickname, meaning chaser or harasser, caught on among troops and historians. The Hetzer was engineered for simplicity and effectiveness. It featured the 7.5 centimeter Pak 39 L48 gun, the same one used in later models of the Panzer IV and Stug III. This weapon could destroy T-34s and Shermans at respectable ranges. Its sloped frontal armor increased its protection without the need for extra weight, making it harder for enemy shells to penetrate. Weighing only 16 tons, Hetzer was significantly lighter than most German tanks, allowing for better mobility and the ability to cross weaker bridges. Its compact frame made it harder to detect on the battlefield, providing a strategic edge. Essentially, it was a cost-effective, efficient, and deadly alternative to bulkier tank destroyers. Performance in combat. The Hetzer saw its first action in mid-1944 when the war was already turning against Germany. It was quickly assigned to Panzerjäger tank hunter units on both the eastern and western fronts. It was particularly effective in ambush scenarios, Hidden in wooded areas or among urban ruins, the Hetzer could fire its powerful gun and then reposition before the enemy could respond. Its size and low profile made it perfect for the dense and rugged terrains of Central and Eastern Europe. Allied commanders reported difficulty in spotting these tank destroyers until it was too late. However, the Hetzer wasn't perfect. The interior was notoriously cramped, which crews disliked. The off-center gun made aiming less intuitive, and its thin side armor left it vulnerable to flank attacks. During open field battles, it struggled against more agile and better armored tanks. Still, in Germany's final, largely defensive campaigns, these drawbacks were often outweighed by its strengths. Variants and adaptations. The Hetzer's simple design allowed for several adaptations, including the Flammpanzer 38T, a version equipped with a flamethrower, devastating in close quarters; the Befehlspanzer 38T, a command variant featuring improved communications equipment; the Jagdpanzer 38T, a recovery vehicle for retrieving damaged tanks; and the Hetzer Star, an experimental model with a fixed gun designed to streamline production. The Hetzer's legacy didn't end with World War II. Czechoslovakia continued manufacturing it post-war under the names ST-1 and ST-3. Additionally, Switzerland adopted a modified version known as the G-13, which remained in service until the 1960s. An impressive lifespan for a wartime design born out of desperation. What the Hetzer represented. By the war's conclusion, around 2,800 Hetzers had been built, far fewer than Allied tanks, but still a notable figure considering Germany's deteriorating resources. The Hetzer came to symbolize the nation's pivot from grand experimental weapons to more practical machines focused on survival and defense. While it couldn't reverse the tide of war, the Hetzer helped delay the inevitable in key defensive operations. For retreating German troops, it served as a dependable ally, capable of delivering powerful blows in the right conditions. Conclusion: a small machine with a lasting impact. The Hetzer's development was a direct response to overwhelming pressure in a shifting battlefield. Emerging from the outdated Panzer 38T, it became a tool of precision and practicality at a time when Germany could no longer afford elaborate designs. Though it lacked the fame of the Tiger or the Panther, the Hetzer played a more crucial role in the desperate final years of the conflict. It was a symbol of adaptability and grim determination. In a war filled with massive battles and legendary war machines, the Hetzer reminds us that sometimes the most effective killer is the one lying in wait, silent and unseen.